TAFS is leading the charge to make the 2024 Broker Carrier Summit possible, and we are so excited to have their support. In case you haven't heard, TAFS offers much more than freight factoring. It provides a comprehensive support system for trucking companies of all sizes, specializing in fast and efficient invoice factoring with the ability to pay carriers in as little as 1 hour. And TAFS services go well beyond factoring, offering a fuel card that unlocks major fuel discounts, flexible business loans that are designed to cater to the distinct needs of a carrier's operations, a dedicated, responsive client experience team, and much more. Black Box Logistics is a 3PL freight brokerage based out of Birmingham. Alabama Black Box Logistics was formed in 2020 by 3 friends, Logan Dyer, William Graves, and Will Hopkins, in a basement office with the goal of bringing transparency around the clock communication and hassle-free customer experience to the table. Multi-service fuel card, the industry's first fuel card, was created by an over-the-road truck driver in 1978 to offer a safe, simple, and cost-effective way to handle fuel and trucking expenses. Initially, it addressed safety concerns of carrying cash on the road. Today, it combats advanced fraud with best-in-class technical and personal support. Sales-CRM is built for freight broker and agent sales teams. Manage your shipper prospecting and follow-ups. Organize your carriers in the lanes they run. HD Ships is a leading logistics provider specializing in sustainable and tech-driven freight solutions. With hubs in Reno, Phoenix, and London, we deliver comprehensive services, including full truckload, expedited cross-border, and intermodal freight. Leveraging proprietary technology, we offer 24/7 tracking, real-time visibility, and advanced automation to ensure safe, compliant, and efficient transportation. Our commitment to sustainability enables clients to offset emissions through carbon credits, aligning logistics with environmental goals. At HD Ships, we prioritize transparency, reliability, and exceptional customer service, empowering clients to achieve seamless, sustainable logistics solutions worldwide.
Happy Thursday.
Yeah, happy Thursday. It's actually my Friday, I believe. I'm going to take tomorrow off, take advantage of this long weekend with Memorial Day.
Oh, nice. I didn't even think about it's Memorial Day on Monday, honestly. It's the first I've realized Monday's Memorial Day.
Yeah.
You're not working Memorial Day?
I mean, I'll be around a laptop. I'm sure I'll have to do some stuff, but I'll be down in Florida. So, and everybody has the day off. So, but I mean, as with logistics, I'm sure that I'll have to work, right? Same thing with tomorrow. I'll just be working remote.
It means your office open? Or your reps working Monday?
No, I mean, I'm sure that if their customers might have requests or need updates, so they'll need to reply, but nobody will be in office unless they decide.
Okay. I don't even know honestly what our schedule is on Monday. I didn't realize it was Memorial Day. But yeah, shout out to our sponsors. Multi-Service Fuel Card, been around since 1978. I think the longest fuel card out there. Patricia, fantastic. Jessica, she spoke at BCS. Great people. They have fuel cards for brokers too. Black Box Will's company, HD Ships, where I recruit agents for. Sales Dash CRM, Freight Specific CRM. Will's company uses it. We have agents that use it. We've known Josh for over a year. Great person. Well, I should say we've known him longer than that, but he's been supporting the podcast since the beginning, which is a year. And then our banner sponsor, Taft's Top 10 Factoring Company. They've also been with us since close to the beginning. Great people over there, great rates, great customer service. Hit up Ryan or Rob if you're looking to learn more about factoring.
Yeah, 100% great group. So Two Dogs celebrated, I guess, a year anniversary this week, which I didn't know until my LinkedIn auto-populated 1 year of working at Two Dogs. So shout out to all these sponsors. I want to say all of them have been with us just about since the first month that we started. So a great group of companies, and we can't thank them for their support enough.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah, so this week we have an exciting guest. I'm sure a large portion of our audience is familiar with him, but it's David Bell. And we'll kind of let him introduce himself and give us a rundown on his experience. But I mean, he's all over the place with what he's doing and has done some exciting things in our industry. So we'll go ahead and bring him on. Hey, David. How's it going?
Hey, guys.
Hey, happy Thursday. How's it going?
Happy Thursday. Going good, man. How you guys doing?
Doing good. Well, we're excited to have you on and learn kind of about your background, and it should be a fun show. I know you've accomplished a lot in this industry, so I guess maybe just to start, kind of give us a little bit about your background, how you got into logistics, maybe a little bit about just your history in general.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I get my background, it reminds me how old I am. So I got into logistics in like 1993, and 1995 I kind of went off and did my own thing back when there was really no competition. So like now logistics is, I mean, the competition is just insane. Like you guys know, it's like the amount of billion-dollar companies that are out there now compared to when I got into it. Like I think there was none when I got into it. So it's been pretty crazy to watch how it's evolved and where it is today, and how many, just shows you how many like entrepreneurial people there are when they go to work for a logistics company, and then they all end up leaving and going and starting their own business and doing it. And I think it comes down to relationships. When you get those relationships, with people and companies, just take those for granted, and you learn and you understand, and then you leave and you do it. And that's why you see so many companies today. It's one of those businesses that you don't even really need a college education. You don't need anything. You just need to go work, learn it, understand it, figure it out, learn how to move freight and take care of customers, and do what you say you're going to do. And anybody can pretty much do it. So it's pretty interesting where it is. But I've been doing it a long time, man, 30 years.
Yeah, I'm sure things were much different 30 years. As you said, there weren't any billion-dollar players in there. It was a lot smaller, a lot different. I mean, and I'm sure we'll get into it later with technology, but obviously technology has changed a lot, and especially in logistics over the last 30 years.
Yeah. I mean, if I just knew a little bit than what I know now, I would definitely be worth infinite more money, because it's hard to imagine back then what technology would have done to logistics, like all the little things. And to see them, like, why didn't I think of that? Why didn't I think of that? That's an easy, why didn't I think of that? So when you look at all the stuff, it's kind of like missed the boat on a lot of stuff. And the AI is something I knew was going to have an impact on all businesses. So that's why I jumped into it. I didn't want to miss the boat on that. After you get my age and you see how many times you missed the boat, you jump on it when you think it's a good one. So
yeah, well, hindsight's 2020, right? But to your point, what you're just describing, that no, you don't necessarily need a college education. I mean, what you described is my story. I was at a brokerage for 2 years, left, started a company, and 5 years later we're up to 50 employees, and it's been built off of those things that you described. So you mentioned you were somewhere for 2 years, then you decided to go off on your own. What was your first taste of that, what were you doing? What kind of company was it?
We were doing primarily LTL brokerage. So we were the company I was working with was one of the first in the space to do the third-party build to on bill of ladings in South Florida. Okay. And I learned it. It was pretty much easy to do. They were pretty greedy, didn't want to pay, the money for the work I was doing and value I was creating. And I was like, listen, you could either pay me this or like, I'll go do it. And talked about maybe being a franchise of them or something. They just they treated me like I couldn't do it. So I've always been the kind when somebody tells me I can't do something, like it drives me 100 times harder. So I went out and did it and competed, and they didn't have a brokerage division. They were just doing the LTL, and I thought it was a mistake, and I wanted to open the brokerage. They didn't. So I went out and actually got a broker authority and started doing brokerage and truckloads. And the concept was, I don't want to do a truckload for $3,000 and take the risk and the AR. And I'm like, what? I'd rather do one truckload for $3,000 than 10 LTL shipments for $300. Like it just seemed to me like they didn't really see the future and long term. And I'm mostly a visionary and a strategic thinker. Like, where can this go? How big can it get? Where can it go? And that's what I did. So I went out. I had a couple customers, and I took them and basically left and asked them if they would support me, and they did. And back then it was easy to get pricing. It was so much easier to do it now. I mean, no one even cared if you had a new authority. They'd haul for you as long as you said you'd pay them. Like your word meant something back then. Like, with carriers, you'd say you'd pay them and they'd give you credit and you go. Now you get a new broker authority, nobody's doing business with you. So it's like it's harder to get in it now than it was, but there's definitely more competition. But I just went and did it and struggled. You know how it is, man. You struggle. Then you got to hire people, and you hire one sales rep, and there goes all your profit. Like you can't make money. Like I bootstrapped it. I'm like, how much do I got to pay them, and how soon are they going to bring business? And it's like, and I didn't know accounting really well then too. So it's like you don't understand. Like, okay, I just hired somebody for $120,000 a year. We're only making $15,000 a month. I'm a new business, $10,000 a month. There goes all my profit, and then all of a sudden you're like, we don't have money, and the accountant's like, we might not make payroll. And you're like, what? Why? You just hired 2 people. I'm like, yeah, it's just 2 people. Yeah, but it's this much. So like you learn a lot by trial by fire, which I did. And, so I'm self-taught accounting. I can go toe to toe with CFOs. I'm understand sales, operations, finance, law, legal. I'm every aspect of transportation law I've dealt with, in the business. So you just learn, but I don't regret it, man. It's hard to even imagine working for somebody now and having to show up and when you've had your own business. I mean, the feeling, like you don't have to, you're not accountable. You're accountable to your customers and your bottom line, but like you have the freedom to do what you want to do. And I think that's the best thing about owning a business.
Very well put. You don't know what you don't know until you get into it. My experience, it's not nearly as extensive as yours, but the best way to learn something is kind of dive into it head first and boots on the ground and figure it out, right? So it sounds like that was a successful venture, right? So you did that is that Smith Transportation Services that you're referring to, that brokerage?
Yeah, we built it. I had about 30% of my business was doing consolidations out of Florida and California and the East Coast. And a lot of my customers were brokers. I was doing business with them all. And so I built up that credibility and trust, which led into Lean, allowed me to get the credibility and trust there to have them open an office. And, Lean was, it was very difficult to get Lean off the ground in the beginning because people were like, what? Send jobs to Colombia? Isn't that where all the drugs are? And how do you do that? like it was, it was pretty crazy trying to sell it, but we had some confidence in a couple people and we were able to get it off the ground and get traction. So then COVID hit, everybody went home and they're like, what? We can actually work remote. Why not do all these back office jobs down in Latin America? And that's when we kind of took off.
It seems like there's a lot of similarities to the offshoring to the AI, the specific use cases at least. And correct me if I'm wrong or if you see it differently, but it seems like the easiest ones to implement initially are things that most companies are using offshoring for. So track and trace, maybe some carrier sales, data entry, things of that nature. And then with anything, it seems like whether you want to consider technology or just new strategies. So offshoring, when it first hits, everybody's like, oh, I don't know. And then eventually everybody catches on and then the market gets crowded. And now you see all these different offshore companies. I mean, my LinkedIn messages is just, 30 people wanting to talk about offshoring, right? So at least the way I see it or envision AI playing out is kind of similar, right? You've got a few companies that are first to market or early, and then you've got some companies that are early adopters and using it, and then eventually, who knows, right? Like 5 years, it's one of those things where, again, it's just everybody's kind of doing it.
Yeah, and it's interesting, you know, when I got in Deline, I had zero competition for 5 years. So, you know, shooting fish in a barrel. And now, you know, this business competition everywhere, and even in lean has competition everywhere now. But for some reason, you know, they still have a huge part of the market share. And I think with this business, you know, we brought in some good product people. We brought in Jason Swanson. He launched Swan Leap and sold that to TI. And we brought in some good product people because I think it's going to, you know, everybody, you know, I talk to a lot of investors and they're like, well, this is going to be commoditized. What's your moat? And really it doesn't have it. So we're really focused on figuring out what our, you know, 2-year and beyond plan is. And in the short term, obviously, we're just trying to, you know, get our products out to market that compete with what's out there now and get the business. And we have, you know, tons of, I think we got 11 pilots that have gone live or are going live in the next 2 weeks. And, you know, we have a good sales team, but I think it's definitely, we got to have a bigger play than what we're doing. And so we're heavily focused on spending time looking into the future and seeing what we look like as a company and what we're going to do, because, you know, it's, I mean, if you look at what Microsoft came out with this week, like you're going to be able to almost do all the AI stuff these big companies are going to provide it for you. So all this workflow AI and all the email AI and everything that's going on, you're going to have, you know, Microsoft and Google are going to be offering it as part of their suites. And so I think that like a lot of the AI, you know, people are going to start with somebody and then they're going to figure out how to get it cheaper and free or you know, because, you know, when you look at your P&L, like you got, when it comes in, you're paying, you know, a DAT or truck stop, you're paying a highway, you're paying a text locate, you're paying you know, an AI company, and then you're paying another AI company. You got all these AI companies you're paying and to get this load moved, but you're still trying to reduce your cost per load, but you got 7 different providers, you know, you're using to get. So we're looking for a way to, and then you got the TMS, you know, throw the TMS in there. So like all of this technology still, when it bundles all together, what's your actual cost of it? And, you know, are you getting the benefit, or is there a better way to bundle it all together and have a full suite of it? And I think the TMSs also are going to go and get this technology and try to replace a lot of these people too, because if I'm a TMS, you know, I'm looking at, okay, now I got all these AI people in there, and now I got to do all these integrations. And how hard are these products? That's what we do. We develop products. So I think if I was a TMS, I'd be rolling it out too, to try to, you know, take some of this market share where they're charging for these services that they're not really secret recipes. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you can almost do it now with, you know, no code, and pretty soon you'll be able to just tell Replit or whoever what you want to do, and boom, they'll spit it out for you and have an engineer tweak it a little, and you have the same technologies everybody has out there. So I think the AI has definitely, you know, created some buzz and some interest, but it's where you're going to go after this, I think, is what we're focused on. And so, you know, it's hard to tell. It's definitely interesting times, but, you know, it's we're still in discovery phase. So
yeah. So to your point on the TMSs going that route, I'm a part of a beta build out for a pretty large TMS, one of 5 people on it, that they're kind of rolling out their own version of AI TMS or whatnot. So it seems like they are going that way, right? I love the point about kind of streamlining everything into one. A lot of the platforms that I've seen, and I don't have extensive knowledge or exposure to it, but it seems like a lot of them are maybe one specific use case as opposed to kind of like a full coverage. So yeah, I mean, looking forward beyond the kind of like low hanging fruit to where is it really going to be in 5 years? I think that's, I mean, to your point, that your strategic mind looking at it and seeing it that way and planning accordingly.
Yeah, because I see it. You know, I see the evolution of it and where it's at, and I know how the industry reacts to stuff. They get it, they go get it because, you know, their competitor has it. They don't want to lose a competitive advantage. They're trying to lower their costs. They're trying to improve EBITDA, and, you know, then all of a sudden they got it all, and then they look at it and they, okay, now I'm spending all this money. What am I doing? How do we do it better? And then, you know, you got the CFOs and you got the tech guys going, how do we do it better? And so I'm just looking. I'm going to find the path, and we have some great ideas of the path we're on that we're going to do. And I think that gives me an advantage because I've been doing it so long and understand. I've built businesses from scratch. So, I think we're going to find a nice path of long-term value for our shareholders and deliver that. But right now in the short term, we're just getting our products out in the market to compete with the other people that are out there and grabbing market share. And kudos to all them. And you had the FleetWorks guy on, I think, last week, and I listened to his podcast, and he's working on things too. And so I think everybody realizes, like, okay, this voice agent isn't going to be the $1 billion company that everybody thought it was, and it's going to take every job and do that. I think people are realizing it's not reducing jobs immediately. And we build a product that helps. We have a call, I have a call center mentality. So I think, okay, how can I make the call center employee better? So we're targeting like that. Like, how do we my dashboard is like interactive call center dashboard. It's not, just an agent answering the phone and doing a transfer. It's an interactive work analytical dashboard that allows, you guys, you have nearshore too. And if you need KPIs on exactly what your employees are doing and the value you're getting out of them, I don't think you get that from many of the nearshore providers. The onus is on you to go figure that out. And you're paying $2,600 a month. Are you getting that value, and how do you count it? And I think with our product, we can deliver exactly the value you're getting out of those employees plus U.S. employees. Like, it's going to literally calculate their time and what you're getting the value out of. And I think moving towards that task-based pricing or outcome-based pricing model is what the future looks at too, because people want the value. They just want to extract value out of everything. It's what this industry's come to, because it's so saturated, is everybody's just extracting value and getting, they want EBITDA to go up. So, and the ones that can have fast growing, 30% growth and 20+% EBITDA, which is unheard of in the industry. But, if they can, they have visions of getting rid of people and cost. And if they can get, 20+% EBITDA and 30% growth, then they just increase their value, 2 or 3 turns at least.
Yeah, I like the pricing model being outcome or task based as opposed to some other ones I've seen or heard are minute based, right? Yeah. And then the minutes doesn't, as an end user, at least when I'm thinking and looking at it, the minutes doesn't really do anything for me, right? It's like, I don't really care about how many minutes it is, but what's the result, the value that's actually in it? Because I don't really care if it's on the phone for a certain amount of time. I care about what's being executed on.
Yeah. And you don't want to, I've heard, stories from customers as we're talking to them, that they've got, the agents talking for 10 minutes to themselves or to a voicemail, and they're still getting billed for it. And they're like, well, this is what, because, they're paying for it. So how do you protect your margin as an AI voice agent when your voice agent's going nuts, having conversations with voicemails, and you still charging the customer for it? You got to eat that, and then you got to fix it. And, dealing with the phone trees and everything has been has been a challenge for everybody as well. And so, we're working on some products help that too. Like, we have what we call receptionist, which is virtual receptionist, where you get rid of these phone trees. Like, what's the solution when phone trees are interfering and disrupting what you're trying to accomplish? And we have a product that, answers the phone and does a better job than press 1 or press 2 or, and waiting. You can literally just have a conversation with our receptionist, and they know everything about the company. They know what they're doing. They know everybody in the company. They know who does what, and you basically train it to know. And you have the dashboard there that one person can monitor all those calls coming in and sort the calls and take them over to, take different calls over. Instead of taking the last call that came in, you can skip and take the 5th call if it highlighted important. So it's a lot of cool things that are going on, but the stuff doesn't really add huge value. Like, what brokers are looking for is, how do you lower my cost per load by $5, $10, $15, $20? And it's little tiny stuff like this, and 50-cent billing on a call is saving, like, that's, saving $4 an hour on an employee, or $5 an hour on an employee isn't moving the needle enough to get everybody excited.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, so it kind of seems to be set up almost like an AI arms race. You got all these people building, exciting. What does the future look like? So as somebody not actively in the space, it's very interesting to kind of like follow along. As far as your roadmap, we're talking about it somewhat ambiguously, and then some specific things. And it almost appears you're not entirely certain what the future looks like in this space, but what are some things that you're looking forward to with CloneOps on the roadmap or deployment? Anything exciting coming up? Sounds like you guys have your hands in a lot of pots with it, stirring and moving forward. So I don't know if that gets you great direction, but try to go somewhere with that. Good.
I mean, I think one of the products we're excited about that's going to be launched in the first of the third quarter is our voice identification and authentication. We have a patent on a product that we're releasing. A voice, your vocal cords are unique to you, and it's like a fingerprint and facial recognition. And we've created a product that will identify and log and track bad actors. So if you have someone calls a brokerage trying to get a loan from them, and they're identified as a bad actor by anybody else who happens to have a recording of that call, we're going to keep a database of bad actors. And then if you're a carrier and your identity's been stolen, like nobody will load you. Like, if you have a spoof phone in highway, like all of a sudden, like you won't load you. So we're creating a product that'll allow this carrier to call all of his brokers and go, listen, I have voice authentication. Go ahead and set it up for me. And that way, it's me, and don't load anybody that doesn't pass this voice authentication. So now carriers can kind of protect themselves with their core brokers to make sure that, nobody, that they don't just get shut down, because all of a sudden if you change your if a fraudster changes your FMCSA, like nobody will load you now. So if you're a trucking company or a carrier, like you're sitting there, you're trying to, and by the way, the trucking companies make the worst margin. Like they have the worst end of the business. They do the most, they do most labor, most cost up front. They do the most, and they get the least amount of the margin out of it. And so they're fighting for that margin, and now they got to fight because some idiots, bad person stole their identity to try to steal loads or change their FMCSA. And now they're not only fighting for business to get it, they're just fighting for somebody to give them the normal business they were getting and convincing them it's me, it's really me. So we're creating this product for carriers and brokers that it's a voice ID that authenticates it's actually them. And we have a secondary authentication too, if for some reason that, sends them a phrase to say, and they just say it back while they're on the phone, and it authenticates them. So because fraud's crazy, and it's inexpensive to do. It's not hard to do. If you can spend 5 cents a load and pretty much guarantee, against fraud by using everything else too, I think brokers would look back and do that, because when you have someone steal your load from fraud, you're paying for it out of your pocket. There's no insurance covering that, and most of the contingent insurance out there, if you book a truck off a load board, they're not covering you. So you can even have a good primary contingent policy, and in there, if they tell you if you load a carrier off a load board, we're not covering it. So and I think the load boards are doing some stuff to prevent it too, because it's basically an epidemic. And people are learning, and they're getting smarter. Now they got the spoof phones and all that. So it's and there's a lot of unsophisticated brokers out there that don't have the technology and spent the money on technology. They're doing stuff old school. They're doing it by a phone, email, and that's it. And they're getting victimized because they're trying to cover and move freight, and most of them are doing more work than the normal, because they're scrambling. And it's sad to see some of these people that are working that hard, and the carriers that are getting screwed by not even doing anything. Carrier didn't do anything, completely innocent, and he's a victim too. So if we can do anything to help that, even if it's a tool we build and patent and give away, and just make it part of what we do, I think I would like to help that, because I've been in the industry a long time. I've done it, and I feel for the people that are having this happen to them. It's rough.
Yeah, definitely changed a lot, especially in the last couple of years. How do you kind of go about because it's probably a little bit different, I'd imagine, because when you kind of founded Lean, there wasn't offshoring, wasn't really a thing, so you guys were kind of like one of the first players, and now so much AI out there, and a lot of people, because there's some bad AI companies, some brokerages have bad perceptions about AI, and then getting the message out there. What's kind of your sales approach, when you have all these products and you have market fit? What's kind of your sales approach to kind of get the message out and kind of differentiate yourself?
We're working with our warm network right now first, and one thing I have some friends that are in the AI space also on a much bigger level, like the $200 and $500 million market space that they're raising, and they're having the same issues that almost everybody's having. As people want it, they want it now, but we don't have enough manpower and AI power to onboard. So like we're working on an AI agent onboarding process. So, an AI implementation, trying to streamline and use AI to do all the stuff that, you do once you get the customer. And I think some of those things we're doing are going to help us be a little bit better and quality, because if you don't have a quality of what you have, if you get a customer, start using your product and the quality's not there, then you're going to lose them quick. The same when I started Lean, like I used to have to beg customers, just bear with me, I promise you it'll work out. It just takes a little bit longer, like, because you guys know when you onboard nearshore people, like it takes a little bit longer, especially when you're doing it remote, out of sight, out of mind. As soon as they hang up, you think they got it and they don't, and you got to retrain them, and it's a longer, harder process when the near shore, and we had to get through it. So it's nothing I'm not familiar with. And you got to just make sure customers believe in you, and believe even if it's not where it needs to be. If you tell them it's going to be where it needs to be, they believe in you, and then you got to get it there, right? Because that's all you have. If it's like I used to say with shipments, if you screw up a shipment, it's fine. It's how you recover. Okay, I'm late, I screwed everything. This is what's going to happen, but here's what I'm going to do to fix it, and then do that. Because if you do that, then the customer is going to have confidence. All right, listen, they're going to take ownership, take responsibility. They're going to get it fixed. I can trust that they do what they say they're going to do. And the same goes for here. It's just about credibility. And I'm very careful when it comes to credibility and doing that. That's how I built all my companies, is just by my customers know that if I cause them pain, I'm gonna be in pain, and I'm gonna try to take the pain off of them. And that's all you can do. But it's these products are not perfect. And everybody using AI knows, and you can go on LinkedIn and see everybody, giving demos and how great it is and all that. It's not. It's an AI agent. It repeats itself. It stutters. It hallucinates. It says stupid shit, and it hangs up on you, and like it's technology, and it's not perfect. And so we're going in just explaining to customers right out of the gate, like, listen, we are a new company. We're launching a new. We're really doing releases every 2 days, and bear with us. And we'll get it in, get it right, and then once we do, that's why we're basically piloting everybody now, and not trying to pilot them, for long, but getting them in, getting it working out the bugs, and then going live. We're giving ourselves 30 days with our customers to pilot them and make sure they're right and make sure it's working. And then also, we had one client that started with the tracking agent, and it worked well for a few days, and all of a sudden they weren't using it anymore. And we're like, what happened? Like, oh, we can't get in. They did a firewall update or something, and their VPN was blocked or something. It's like, okay, like, were going to say something, or are we just going to stop using it? And it's like, okay. So then we went back and we got the fix and got them back using it again. So we're monitoring like all that too, quality every day. We have quality controls going into and listen, and we have a quality control agent that like scrapes all the calls, in seconds and grades them. We have a sentiment score and a score call, so we can go in and score all the calls and make sure the scores are high. If the scores are low, we go and listen to them, figure out where they're wrong, get back with the customer and say, hey, we found some low scoring calls. We want to go over them with you. We want to change the prompts, because it's all prompt engineering too. You got to get the scripts and the prompts perfect, and for what you're doing. So we're doing all that. It's a lot of work, man. I got a big team already, so like we're hiring. Everybody following LinkedIn, seeing the hires, but I think we're hiring like 6 more engineers and this week. So we're building the team, and it's taking way more people than I thought. I thought it was AI, right? I thought, oh, we're gonna be AI will do everything. It does.
How hard is it just coming from obviously you had a brokerage, and then Lean is probably one of your first times like dealing with hiring engineers, and obviously that's a big important thing in the AI. I'm just curious, how is that process like different from maybe all the other roles you've hired for? Is that I don't know. I was just kind of curious, because that's probably a new thing to you based on kind of your previous backgrounds.
Yeah, so I launched Lean Tech in 2019, and that was the idea, is we would provide developers and engineers and the tech space to our customers. So I launched that. So I had some experience there because we hired there, but it was in Colombia. And what's happening here is there's a lot of developers that are concerned and coders that are now having to move into different space, because there's a lot of platforms that you don't have to code anymore. So I think what's happening is you have this huge need for engineers and prompt engineers and solution engineers, and you have all of these developers that are going to learn these skills. So what we're finding is a lot of people that are and candidates are transitioning into that and are learning it and doing it because they're traditionally they were just a coder, and so those are the kind of people we're finding. The real high level experienced engineers are hard to find. They're solution architects. They're I mean, because you got all these huge companies out there that have ridiculous money to throw at these things. One thing I didn't want to do is have like a typical Silicon Valley tech company where we just raise money infinite for 5 years and never make any money, and then blow our valuation through the roof, because we can, and never be worth that. I don't want, this is probably one of my last businesses. I don't want to be remembered, similar to some of the digital brokers that did the same things. I don't want to be remembered that way. And so I'm trying to do it right, and trying to create value for shareholders and create a pathway to profitability. And that's the goal with us.
Yeah, I feel like that word has changed a lot in the last couple of years. I mean, it used to be, like you said, just drive a bunch of money, get a bunch of, drive your valuation up. And that was kind of the tech play and even the brokerage play. But that play, I don't think is as what it was a couple of years ago.
I don't know, man. It might have reignited with this AI thing, because when our first raise, like they're ready to throw money at this like crazy. And a lot of these companies that are doing it, I don't see how they can make money. There's AI companies out there giving it away for a year and 3 years.
Wow.
I mean, you got companies that, they go raise 25 million, then they figure they'll give it away to the top, 100 brokers for free, and find a pathway to a billing when that happens at reduction. And then you look at it, you're like, okay, well, and then they go from a raise at a $50 million valuation. Now they're raising it like a $500 million valuation because they got all, 8 of the top 10 brokers. They gave it away for free. So I think, the tech business to me has always been a raising funds business, not a profitability business. Even when you look at like some of the big TMSs out there, like the pathway to profitability there, it's hard. So I think I agree with you for a period of time the last 2 years because of the recession and logistics. Like everybody wants a profitable company. Nobody's willing to look at companies that don't have a pathway to EBITDA. But I think we're back a little bit with this AI play. I think that there's a lot of money in the space that they're throwing at it. And I think that there's going to be a lot of companies that their whole business model is going to be raising money. And that's what they do. Their whole 3-year plan is just raise infinite money and see what happens, with no real belief that there's a pathway to profitability. And if I wake up one day and I think there's no pathway to profitability, I'm going to pivot and do something different and change and make it, because I just don't want to I don't want to be in the business of raising money and taking investors' money. I want to be in the business of building a business, creating value, and making money. So some of the difference between what I'm doing and what other people are doing. That's why I say, when I first came on, we're talking about where are we going to be in 2 years. And one of the biggest things is, where are we going to be that we're going to be profitable? And that's what I need to see.
How do you compete against, I didn't know there was AI companies doing that, just going to the top brokerages and saying, here's 1 year, 3 years for free. Like, how do the other AI, players, you started the show saying, CFOs and some of these guys are so concerned with money and how much it costs. How do you compete against something like that? I had no idea that was going on.
You can't. What can you do? I have several large customers. Arrive is one of them. Matt's my friend, and he was one of my first adopters at Lean, helped me grow Lean, and he's got a plan with a competitor, and they gave it away, and they gave a reduced pricing, and they got engineers in their office every day building workflows, and he's like, and I'm like, dude, what's up, man? What are you doing? And he's like, I have to do it. Like, why wouldn't I do it? It's free and it's reduced. And like, I'm like, I don't blame you. And so, and I got, he's my friend, trying to find a pathway in. And so that hopefully when we get our voice AI launched and voice authentication, we'll get in the door with Arrive and do some business there with that. But you can't. All the big ones there that they've already hit, and they went out and hit them and gave them a deal they couldn't refuse. But we're finding some of them, we're able to still get in with some simple products that to test and compare against it. And they're finding that they can have 2 pathways. Like we have one of our pilots that was really the ones, I won't say names, but really the company that launched the AI agent, a year and a half almost 2 years ago, basically a first user of it, and helped them go to market. And now we're using them as well, and they're using both of us, and they like both of us. And they said, listen, we can use both. There's room for both of you. It's like when you got, the 4 kites and macro points and P44, and, you thought that you're going to have this one, everybody use it. And then there's always competitors. So we're optimistic that we're still going to get a piece of the business, but we got to let them go do their thing for a little while and see where they get. And some of them, listen, they may stay in there a year and never get it right either. Who knows? You never know. When you try to go too big and do too much, and it doesn't always come together great. So, we may end up with just specific, use case products that work well. And we're also working on a very good sales use case product too, that, we're going to be launching. Cause I think sales is a big thing too. Like that's big, but when you look at a brokerage, part of your expense and part of your biggest cost when you're trying to start up is hiring the salespeople. And then it's unknown what business they actually bring. So we're working on some cool sales stuff geared towards logistics that we feel can be more BDR level, door opening, interesting than, and get some sales traction versus trying to have, the traditional way. So, we'll see what happens. I mean, it's, we have to come up with something different that everybody has. I mean, that's why I don't understand all these brokerages and go to shippers. Like, and I would hate to be in the brokerage business now and have to go call a shipper and convince them why I'm different. Why am I different? Like, you're not. Like, we're like everybody. You give me an order, we move it, we pay the truck and bill you, and you pay us. So like, it's pretty much the same. So that's why I was joking. I said, if I had somebody, I think did a podcast a couple weeks ago and asked me, if you went back into brokerage, what would you do? I'd say, I wouldn't. I wouldn't do it. But if I was forced to have a gun to my head, I don't know. I think I'd rather be a carrier than a broker. Honestly, I'd rather go back into trucking and then build a small brokerage around it than actual brokerage, because it's tough. AI is tough, but I think brokerage is tougher.
100%. Do you kind of envision, we asked this question last week too, do you kind of, and I know you were talking about the TMS space earlier and AI as well, and it's well known there's a lot of big companies that have their own TMS, and there's a lot of big companies that still use others. I know you're just talking about Arrive, partnering with this company, and I know you've heard CH developing their own product. Like, do you envision this in the next, I know you guys are thinking in the future here, in the next 2 to 3 years, as similar to the TMS space, where there's some big brokerages that are hiring their own engineers, designing all their own products, and others that are still using vendors? Or how do you kind of vision that playing out?
I think it's going to be yes to both. I think you're going to have people that just want to own it. There's some people, I think it's all mentality of ownership and leadership. Like, I know people that just wanted to build their own TMS to have it. And I think the biggest thing too is there's a lot of people that are, that are data paranoid. They don't want their data anywhere. And you're giving access to, they have companies now, like you go through Highway and VoIP, and they got different companies where they're basically getting all your information. They're doing your billing, they're doing your payables, like they're doing all this stuff. They have all this data that they're accumulating, and eventually that data is where the value is going to be. And eventually, it's once there's enough accumulation of all that data in a real time, which is what I think AI is going to do in a real time, then I think like all of a sudden you're going to have this new marketplace with all real-time data with trucks and loads that are just going to, you're basically going to have AI is going to be booking everything fast and to the best match of what it can be. And you'll just be a broker. You'll just submit it to this AI, and carriers will submit their trucks, and it'll just match it up and spit it back out. Here you go. And what's not covered, you got to go find a way to cover it, because you have a load count, you have a truck count, right? I mean, sometimes you're upside down, sometimes you're not, and so I think eventually it's going to lead to some sort of centralized, cooperative, centralized broker, carrier, shipper agreement that is going to be in this environment that gives everybody efficiencies and could be a differentiator. But I'm watching, and I'm taking notes, and so I can look back and see what I missed and where I thought I hit it right. So we can do this again in 2 years, and then we'll revert back.
Yeah,
and compare.
It'll be fun to see what happens in 2 to 3 years. Well, it was fun having you on. Is there anything else we maybe didn't touch on that you wanted to hit on kind of as we wrap up?
No, man, listen, I appreciate you guys having me on. Your podcast is doing great. It's popular. There's only a few out there that are super interesting and popular. I think you guys are bringing some youth and energy, to it. And I just started watching it. I only realized I saw you guys on LinkedIn, but I didn't really pay much attention until about a month ago. And I think you guys are doing great. And I appreciate you having me on. It's good exposure for us. And hopefully people aren't getting podcast fatigue for me and tired of hearing about me, because my marketing team's like, another podcast. I'm like, send someone else to do it. Send a product guy to do it. But you guys, I wanted to do it because I thought it would be more personable and just to meet you guys and get to know you. So I'm sure we'll cross paths in some other ways too. And maybe is Black Box using AI? Who are you guys using?
We've done a couple of demos. I did a demo with a Kyle who set this up.
Did you? Okay, cool.
And I did one with Fleetworks. We're kind of just watching discovery phase, right? Seeing what makes sense. We're right under the 50 person head count. So I don't know if we will do something eventually. Timing's not ideal right now, but who knows? We don't want to be late to it. So we're keeping.
All right. Well, as long as you're talking to Kyle, he'll get you closed. He's a closer.
Yeah, we're supposed to go to a Braves game here soon. So
Braves game, a few beers. I'll be in the Monday after that.
Well, David, yeah, man, thanks for coming on. We really enjoyed it. I really appreciated your take. It was refreshing, right, to hear you candidly talk about AI. Hey, it's not this perfect thing. A lot of times we have people on and they have a product and they're just like, yeah, it's going to end world hunger. But it's great and refreshing to hear somebody just kind of call it how it is, right? We're still building, we're still figuring it out. And take some ownership of that. So no,
that's all you can do, right? Like if you don't call it like it is and be transparent, then it's they say you fake it till you make it. I say don't fake it till you make it. Just make it, and do it. And at the end of the day, that's all you got. So but I appreciate you guys, man, and shout out to my whole team too. We've hired a lot of new people, and I'm building a superstar team, man. They're working their ass off. They're working hard, and I appreciate them so much, because I realized when I started this business, I thought I would have a slim team and be able to do it nice and slim, and I couldn't. And the people that are coming on board and believing in my leadership and what I'm doing is humbling, and I'm very appreciative of all of them.
Awesome. Well, yeah, we'll put it on the calendar 2 years from today. We'll come back. We'll have some clips, and we'll evaluate how things turned out and where we are.
Yep. Cool. Maybe we'll do one before then, though. 2 years is a long time. You guys are too popular, man. I'll become irrelevant.
Just let us know. We'd love to have you on whenever. But yeah, thanks again, David. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll be tuned into CloneOps, seeing what you guys have rolling out, and best of luck with it.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you, man.
Thanks again.
All right.
That was fun. It was a refreshing approach too. I mean, I really like the part. I mean, he said that, it's not perfect. It's going to mess up the same way as, with trucks. You had to take accountability in how you act. And I didn't know his, kind of all of his background. So it's cool to see somebody talk. Somebody's been in all phases of the industry over 30 years. And I enjoyed it. But yeah, shout out to our sponsors, Multi-Service Fuel Card, been around since 1978. Patricia, Jessica, fantastic. Black Box, Will's company, HG Ships. If you're looking to be an agent, I'd love to talk to you. Sales Dash, Freight Specific CRM. Will's company uses it. We have agents that use it. Hit up Josh or Drew. And our banner sponsor, Taft's, top 10 factoring company, Kansas City based. Ryan and Rob are fantastic. Definitely hit them up if you're looking to learn about factoring.
100%. Well, man, great episode. Guys, we'll have Dog of the Week out tomorrow. Hey, and shout out to Rents with Trio. They do all of our background and graphics.
It's his birthday.
Yeah, we should have a birthday post out to him as well. We'll be back at it tomorrow, Dog of the Week, and we'll have another episode out next week. Matt, enjoy your weekend, your Memorial Day in Columbia.
Yeah, I'll enjoy it, man. Enjoy the trip down to Florida.
All right, sounds good. I'll talk to you soon.
Which part of Florida are you going to?
Destin.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
All right.